The Spartans trained not for comfort, but for greatness. Their battles are over, but yours are just beginning. Mental toughness is a choice, forged through discipline, unity, and resilience. If you're ready to sharpen your mind like a Spartan blade, stand with us, shield to shield. Subscribe now, join our ranks, and let's conquer life's challenges together, one lesson at a time. From the rocky hills of Laconia in southern Greece rose one of the most formidable warrior societies the world has ever known, the Spartans. To outsiders, they were a people forged in fire, hardened by discipline, and feared across the ancient world. Their name carried weight on every battlefield, whispered with a mix of awe and dread. But their reputation was not built on chance or myth alone. It was carved into their very way of life, etched into every child raised within their walls, shaped from birth to death through a system of training that molded them into warriors whose mental toughness remains legendary even today. To understand Spartan training is to uncover lessons that reach far beyond the battlefield, lessons in resilience, discipline, and the endurance of the human spirit. The Spartans remind us that true strength is not merely physical, but forged in the crucible of the mind. For the next hour, we will walk in their footsteps, exploring how they were raised, what they endured, and how their ancient code can still inspire us in the struggles of our modern world. The Spartan story begins at birth. Unlike most Greek city-states, Sparta had no tolerance for weakness. Newborns were inspected by the elders, and only those judged strong and healthy were allowed to live. Those deemed unfit were left to die on Mount Taygetus. As cruel as it may seem, this ritual was the first forging of a society built on the elimination of fragility. From their earliest breath, Spartan children were reminded that life was not about ease, but about readiness. Survival was not guaranteed, it was earned. This early expectation created a mindset that toughness was not a choice, but a duty, both to oneself and to the state. At the age of 7, the true shaping began. Boys were taken from their families and placed into the Agoge, Sparta's rigorous state-run training system. There, childhood, as most would know, it came to an end. The boys were given minimal clothing, thin rations, and beds of reeds. Hunger was a constant companion, and yet this hunger was deliberate. They were encouraged to steal food, not for survival alone, but to sharpen their cunning. If caught, punishment was swift and brutal, not because stealing was wrong, but because being clumsy enough to get caught revealed a lack of discipline. In this way, the Agoge taught that strength was not only about muscles or courage, but about cleverness, precision, and self-mastery. Their days were filled with relentless training. Wrestling, running, spear throwing, and mock battles prepared their bodies. But equal weight was placed on the training of the mind. They were taught brevity of speech, what the Greeks called lakonikos, the sharp and cutting style that gave us the word laconic. In few words, they learned to carry force. They were expected to stand in silence, to bear pain without complaint, to listen more than they spoke. Spartan boys were taught that true toughness was not in how loudly you boasted, but in how quietly you endured. The Agoge was also a school of philosophy, not of books, but of lived wisdom. It taught that pain was a teacher, not an enemy. A Spartan boy who cried out at a beating revealed weakness. A boy who stood firm revealed strength. Some stories even tell of boys hiding a live fox under their tunic, allowing it to claw and bite into their flesh rather than be discovered. Whether myth or truth, the story reveals the value Spartans placed on endurance. For them, Suffering was not something to flee, but something to master. Their training pushed them beyond the limits of comfort. They went barefoot year-round to harden their feet, marched great distances without complaint, and bathed in cold water to resist softness. Cold winds, harsh rains, rocky terrain. These were not obstacles, but allies in their training. The Spartan way was clear. Comfort is the enemy of resilience, and only by embracing hardship can the human spirit be truly prepared. But toughness in Sparta was never about the individual alone. From the beginning, the boys were trained to think as one, to fight as one, to live as one. The phalanx, their legendary battlefield formation, was drilled into their very being. Each warrior's shield did not only guard himself, but the man at his side. In this way, the strength of one became the strength of all. A single broken link could collapse the line, but a unified wall was unbreakable. This was the Spartan truth. Courage was not reckless bravery, but disciplined unity. The lessons of the phalanx extend far beyond the battlefield. Mental toughness is not isolation. It is the ability to hold steady with others, to rely on and be relied upon. Spartans remind us that resilience grows when we know we are part of something greater, when our shield protects more than ourselves. Yet it would be a mistake to think Spartan toughness was only for men. The women of Sparta, too, were renowned for their strength. Unlike most Greek women, they were educated, trained in physical exercise, and expected to manage the household while their men were at war. They were outspoken, commanding, and fearless. Spartan mothers raised warriors not by coddling them, but by instilling in them the same values of endurance and honor. One of the most famous sayings captures their spirit: "Come back with your shield, or on it." These words were not cruelty. They were love, expressed through resilience. They taught that life without honor was no life at all. This mindset produced warriors like King Leonidas, who at Thermopylae in 480 BCE stood with just 300 Spartans and a few thousand allies against the vast Persian army of Xerxes. For 3 days, they held the narrow pass, unyielding, until betrayal opened the way for their enemy. Leonidas and his men fought to the last, proving that toughness is not always about victory, but about refusing to surrender when surrender would mean dishonor. Their sacrifice echoed through history as one of the greatest examples of endurance against overwhelming odds. Daily life in Sparta was equally shaped by discipline. Meals were plain and sparse, often consisting of the infamous black broth made of boiled pork, blood, and vinegar. Luxuries were scorned. Wealth was not displayed through gold or jewels, but through simplicity and strength. Even their houses were plain, without decoration, for they believed that extravagance weakened the will. Spartan law, established by the semi-mythical Lycurgus, enforced equality among men and prioritized the needs of the state above personal desire. The discipline of the Spartans extended into their speech and their dealings. A Spartan reply was known for its brevity and sharpness. When threatened by Philip of Macedon, who warned, "If I invade Laconia, I will destroy you," the Spartans replied with a single word: "If." This unshakable confidence, expressed without waste, was itself a form of toughness, clarity, decisiveness, and calm in the face of fear. What can we take from these lessons today? Discipline over comfort. Growth lies not in ease, but in hardship, endurance of struggle. Every setback is preparation for resilience, brotherhood, and unity. Strength is amplified in connection, not isolation. Pain as a teacher. Let it refine, not break you. Purpose-driven toughness. Train not for vanity, but for the mission you serve. These principles are not locked in the past. They live on for anyone willing to embrace them. And yet, even Sparta was not eternal. Over time, their rigid system weakened. The number of full citizens shrank, and as new powers rose, Athens with its culture, Macedonia with its empire, Sparta's dominance faded. The phalanxes no longer ruled the battlefield, but the spirit of their training did not vanish. It passed into legend, into memory, into the very idea of resilience itself. The legacy of Sparta is not in their monuments or their empire, for those have crumbled. Their legacy lies in the enduring truth that the human spirit, when hardened by discipline and guided by purpose, can withstand trials that seem impossible. The Spartans remind us that greatness is not found in luxury, but in the willingness to endure. Toughness is not a gift, but a choice, built day by day through discomfort, unity, and conviction. And so, even though the phalanxes of Sparta no longer march across the earth, their lessons remain. They live in every person who refuses to quit under pressure, in every group that stands firm together, in every soul who chooses honor over ease. The world may change, but hardship will always exist, and with it, the opportunity to embrace the Spartan way. When life presses hardest against us, the Spartan voice whispers still, endure, stand firm, do not yield.